private companies that show great potential will be the successful companies in the future. So we focus on that market and try and develop relationships with those companies early on. And we bring to the table a breadth of professional services, from audit, tax, to advisory. And the advisory group is comprised of corporate finance, valuations, performance improvement. So those areas we think can be of significant value to private companies.
Well, what we're finding is capital is still out there. It may be harder to get because there's fewer players in the market. A year ago there was lots of US banks that were up in Alberta wanting to do business, and they've all really gone back south of the border. So our clients have fewer options, but the options are still out there. And what we're doing is sitting down with them and saying, you know, really think about what you want. Let's get away from some of these kind of goofy forms of lending that existed a year ago, and let's get back to basics. Find out what you want, what's going to work for you, and then let's start talking to some of the traditional lenders and say, here's what we're looking at, and let's be a bit more proactive instead of waiting to the 11th hour and being in a big panic.
Now, with the limited access to capital and also the concern with the energy environment, where things are going, it's been such a dramatic shift in the Alberta marketplace for companies from going full steam ahead, trying to bring people in from all around the world just to get human capital in place to be able to start operations and get things going, to 180 degrees, going backwards, downsizing, right-sizing, looking at the fundamentals of the operations, look at cost containment, whereas before cost was something that was just a necessary evil, and if it went up you just charge more because that's where the market was going. So it is a very different approach to look at things now than it was a couple of years ago.
What's happening is the trucking company that used to truck supplies for the service company isn't getting those same calls, or you know, the company that provided the coveralls for the employees isn't getting those same calls. So it sort of trickles out. But what we're saying to those companies is, again, it's a good time to retrench. You've got to weather the storm because you don't really have a choice, and look at some of the underperforming parts of your business and say, do we shut them down? Do we retool them? 6 months ago we had clients who would hire anybody that had a hard hat and a heartbeat, and now we're saying, you know, let's keep the people that you think need to be around for the long-term success of your business, but maybe some of the people that you just hired because you needed a warm body, it's time to sort of move some of those people out of your organization. Spend some time going out talking to your customers. Look at your accounts receivable. Do all the things that made you successful to begin with that you didn't have time to look at a year ago because you were just too busy.
What we've done internally is we have actually recruited some new expertise into the firm and into the RDS marketplace to help deal with this. We brought in an individual by the name of Jonathan Legg, who's a very senior person, been on a number of boards, ran a financial institution for a number of years, worked in their special loans group. So we're bringing some very senior resources to our team to be able to help approach strategy, and looking at stuff from not just a reactionary process, but getting more thought leadership in to say, okay, what do these changes mean to companies today? What's it going to look like for them in 6 months or a couple of years? And how do we think it's going to affect the environment around them? So looking at energy and natural gas, not just looking at what's happening to drilling companies in the marketplace, but saying, okay, if natural gas is going to be suppressed for a couple of years with all of the supply coming on in the US, what's that mean for a structural change for people, for a strategy in approaching gas in Western Canada?
I think the most important thing is for companies to get a handle on where they're going from a financial projection perspective. There's absolutely no replacement for the value that financial projections can provide to management, whether it be to make operating decisions or whether it be to assist them managing their creditors, in particular the lenders. And I think that the biggest concern and challenge that companies have now, where they should be focusing on, are maintaining their covenants with their lenders. As once those covenants are violated, they're in a different world, and I don't think they understand exactly what the implications of that world will be to them. So our advice to these companies is to maintain maintain their relationships with their lenders and make sure that if they've got a covenant violation coming up, they know about it in advance and they've got a plan to deal with it.
In my opinion, the three things that a company should be looking at right now to be positioned for success in the future would include getting back to basics, looking at simple things like cash flows, sort of retrenching and going back to what made you successful in the first place. Second thing would be connecting with your clients, your customers, your banker, spending the time to just reconnect with those people, let them know what you're doing, that things are okay, that you're doing all the right things to weather this storm. And the third thing is be very communicative with your employees. Let them know that you've got a plan to weather the storm, these are the things you're going to do, and let them know that they're part of the success so that everybody kind of understands that you're working through this and you do have a plan.